So as pressure mounts for President Trump's administration to find a quick resolution to the war with Iran, President Trump has claimed that the US can open the Strait of Hormuz. That was the post that he wrote in the last half hour or so. Let me just recap that for you so you can see exactly what he said. Posting on his Truth Social platform, he wrote, "With a little more time, we can easily open the Hormuz Strait, take the oil and make a fortune." Clearly not one of the US stated war aims when this conflict began. And with me now, former senior officer in the British military and host of the Security Brief, Mikey Kay. Welcome back, Mikey. Donald Trump says the US could take this strait easily. Could they?
Welcome to Dr. John's podcast. So what just happened? Judge Boasberg threatened Trump directly with personal jail time for defying orders to release the Epstein files. No more delays, no more appeals. Trump was so shaken, he walked out of the courtroom mid-hearing with Secret Service rushing him straight to Air Force One. Those words hit Trump like a physical blow. The judge was not vague. He was not saying, you might face some consequences.
I think simple answer is absolutely not. Let's take a look at the Hormuz Strait. I mean, the geography of it is really, really interesting for starters. This is the Hormuz Strait. On the left-hand side of the screen, Anita, you've got what traffic used to be like pre-February 28th. And then you can see, so the red dots basically are the tankers on the left. You can see there's a significant amount on the left, but the actual strait itself on the right has dried up. Now, the geography is really interesting because the widest point between Kesham Island and the tip that you can see there in the bottom of the screen is 21 nautical miles. And there are two 3-kilometer channels for tankers both coming into the Persian Gulf and out of the Persian Gulf. So basically, in terms of threat, that the strait is right underneath the nose of any Iranian capability. And we can come on to that in a second. But I think what's interesting is if Trump wanted to do this, he's going to have a significant amount of US capability that is appropriate to that in order to do that. And what we've seen coming into the region over the last couple of weeks, I think we've got some footage here. I think the key capability would be the amphibious ready groups.
He was saying this specific defiance will result in contempt charges, which means personal incarceration. He said it in front of the whole courtroom, in front of Trump's lawyers, with cameras rolling, and Trump couldn't handle it. He got up from his seat and walked out. Whether it was his decision or his lawyers or Secret Service, the optics were catastrophic. The President of the United States walking out of a federal courtroom after a judge threatens him with jail. That's the image that went out to the world.
Now, there are two amphibious ready groups. So the ARG on the left there, that's amphibious ready. On the right, you've got the carrier, which is the Abraham Lincoln. That's obviously a critical part to any attempt to control and get maritime superiority over the strait. But the two amphibious ready groups are really important. One is the USS Boxer. That's joined by two amphibious assault ships, so 3 in total on that ARG. The USS Boxer is interesting. It's got what's called a well deck. So the well deck basically allows Marines to go direct from ship to shore. So that's a key capability. And on the USS Boxer, there's what's called a Marine Expeditionary Unit, and that will have roughly around 2,000 Marines. Look at the second amphibious ready group, which is the USS Tripoli. We don't have a picture of the USS Tripoli up there, but it's very similar, but it doesn't have a well deck. It's called a Lightning Carrier. So it's specific to air power. So there are F-35s on top of that. You've then got on the right, you've got the carrier, the Lincoln. There was the Ford, but the Ford has had to limp back to Crete. And open source intelligence indicates that will be out of action for 2 years. There is chatter about the G.W. Bush coming into theatre, but that hasn't been confirmed yet. So you've got that. You've also then got the 82nd Airborne, which are paratroopers. I think we've got some footage of the 82nd Airborne. So on the left is the 82nd Airborne. They're called the tip of the spear. They're from the Quick Reaction Brigade.
Rapid response, yeah.
Rapid response. They've got an 18-hour notice to move. So they 2,000 are already intelligence channels say coming into the region with potential for another 10,000. So that's significant. They basically wear parachutes. They can deploy through aviation, and they can drop onto any potential targets. And what's interesting about the 82nd Airborne is that if we can go back to the Strait of Hormuz.
Now, here's what makes this so severe and so different from other judicial warnings Trump has gotten. Boasberg was specific and detailed about the contempt threat. He wasn't saying, well, you might face some consequences if you keep this up. He was saying this defiance will result in contempt charges, which means personal incarceration, direct consequences right now.
Graphic again. You can see that really large island in the top there, Anita. That's called Cascading Island. It's about 84 nautical miles long, and that is full of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps capability. You've then got a number of other islands. They're much smaller. I don't know if you can see on the screen, but there's around 8 to 10 other small islands, and there are 3 critical ones to the west of the Strait of Hormuz, so basically inside the Strait of Hormuz. So basically, in order for the US to do this, they would have to put boots on the ground. They'd have to soften up the targets at Cascading Island, then they'd have to put boots on the ground through all of those islands in order to secure maritime superiority. Now,
but strategically, because of the geography which you've explained, it's not a straightforward task, is it? Despite all that, hardware and personnel.
Yeah, so it's not.
And he cited Trump's 15 public mentions of Epstein as direct evidence of obstruction and deliberate delay tactics. 15 times Trump has mentioned Epstein publicly. And Boasberg is looking at that and saying, you're deliberately trying to obstruct this investigation. You're deliberately trying to delay these document releases. You're deliberately trying to evade the court's orders. And each time Trump does that, each Epstein comment, each stall on document releases, each claim of privilege, he's adding to the contempt count. He's digging himself deeper, and now the judge is saying, that's it, no more delays. No more excuses. Release the documents unredacted by Monday. And if you don't, jail, personal incarceration. That's the threat. It's that simple. It's that stark. Insiders are reporting that Trump is absolutely frozen in fear right now. This is coming from people inside the White House, people close to him. They're saying he's not angry, he's not defiant, he's genuinely scared, he's terrified about the handcuffs part of this threat. That's what his own staff is leaking to media. The president himself is frightened about going to jail. He's frozen in that fear. He can't think clearly. He can't strategize. He's just panicked. And you can see that panic manifesting in his Truth Social posts, where he's raging about rigged judges and deep state conspiracies and people wanting to put him in chains. His latest post has millions of views. He's saying, rigged judges want me in chains. This is a deep state attack. But underneath all that rage, there's genuine desperation. There's a man watching his entire presidency collapse in real time, and he doesn't know how to stop it. Now, this is coming on top of everything else that just exploded on the same day. We're talking about a Supreme Court loss that happened just hours before this Boasberg ruling. Trump lost a major case at the Supreme Court 6-3 on the same day he's getting threatened with jail. His own conservative court rejected him, told him his interpretation of presidential power is fundamentally wrong and unlawful. That's 2 absolutely crushing blows happening in the same 24-hour period. A devastating 1-2 punch designed to knock you down completely. Then you've got the Pam Bondi situation. Trump called her a liar on the record because her Epstein client list was apparently fake or exaggerated or completely misrepresented. The President of the United States publicly attacking his own Attorney General pick for lying about her credentials. That fractures his political support even further. If you can't trust your own people, to be honest, what does that say about your administration? What does that say about your judgment? Then you've got GOP members in Congress voting against Trump's war powers on Iran strikes, Republican senators defying him publicly, cabinet members openly revolting over Iran military planning, his approval rating sitting at just 35%, which is historically bad for a sitting president. And now a federal judge on the record, in open court, threatening the president with jail time for not releasing Epstein documents. This is a full-spectrum collapse, everything breaking simultaneously. The kind of week where you wonder if it's all going to hold together or if the whole thing is going to implode completely. Let me break down the specific legal issue here. The Epstein file situation has been ongoing for a long time. Persistent questions about what documents exist, what Trump actually knew about Epstein, why he's been so desperately trying to keep things sealed. Trump's legal team has been using every possible delay tactic: executive privilege claims, national security concerns, security of federal agents and sources, creative legal arguments designed to keep those documents under wraps. Judges have been granting these delays for a while, giving Trump time to make his constitutional arguments and file appeals. But Boasberg has hit his absolute limit. He's done waiting, done hearing excuses, done giving delays. His patience running out completely is what triggered this harsh ruling that shocked Trump so badly he walked out. Federal investigators want to know exactly what Trump knew about Epstein and when he knew it, and whether there are any documents in government files that would clarify the nature of their relationship. Trump has been fighting tooth and nail to keep those documents sealed. His legal team keeps finding new reasons why the documents supposedly can't be released. New security concerns, new privilege claims, new technical issues, whatever creative legal argument might work. And Boasberg just decided that the entire game is over. The blocking stops now. The delays stop now. The excuses stop now. The documents are being released unredacted. And if Trump tries any more stalling tactics, files any more appeals, claims any more privilege, he's going to be held in contempt of court, which means jail time. That's the hard line the judge drew. The White House went into complete panic mode after this happened. Insiders leaked to media that Trump was frozen in fear. They said he was terrified about the handcuffs part of this situation. They said he was completely blindsided by the harshness and specificity of the warning because he expected the judge to grant at least a partial delay, to go easier on him simply because of his status as president. But Boasberg didn't go easier on him. The judge actually went harder. He basically communicated that Trump's status as president doesn't matter here. His wealth doesn't matter. His power doesn't matter. The law is the law. Court orders are court orders. And if you defy those orders, you go to jail. That applies to presidents too. Not just normal people, not just ordinary citizens. Presidents also have to follow court orders. That's the constitutional system. That's the foundation of rule of law in America. And Trump's entire approach to the courts for the past several years has been predicated on the assumption that he can find legal ways around this fundamental principle. He can find legal technicalities. He can use his presidential power to influence judges. He can delay long enough that circumstances change, or he becomes immune from prosecution or something else saves him. But Boasberg just signaled that none of that is going to work anymore. The delays are finished. The technicalities don't matter. Compliance is the only option, or jail is the consequence. The timing of this is absolutely brutal for Trump's legal position because it comes right after the Supreme Court loss earlier that same day. He lost a massive case 6-3, got rejected by his own conservative court, got told that his interpretation of presidential power is fundamentally wrong, and then literally hours later, a federal judge threatens him with personal jail time over Epstein documents. Two crushing blows in the same 24-hour period. That's the kind of day that would rattle any president, shatter their confidence, shake them to their core. And Trump clearly was rattled. He was shaken. He was panicked. He got up and left the courtroom without hearing the judge finish speaking. He retreated to Air Force One, where he felt safe. Then he went home and posted angry messages about rigged judges and deep state attacks. That's what genuine panic looks like. That's what a president in real crisis looks like when the legal walls are closing in all at once. The Bondi situation is fueling this too. She was his attorney general pick, and it just came out that her list of clients was apparently exaggerated or misrepresented, or maybe totally false. Trump responded by calling her a liar on the record. That fractures his political support even further. And that's on top of the GOP war powers vote where Republican members voted against Trump's military authorization. On top of cabinet members revolting over Iran's strike planning. On top of the 35% approval rating. On top of 62% of Americans saying Trump defies courts too often. Everything is breaking at once. The courts are against him. His party is abandoning him. His appointees are lying or incompetent. And now a judge is threatening him with jail. Let me walk you through the 4 biggest takeaways from this Boasberg ruling, because these are going to shape everything that happens next in Trump's presidency and potentially determine whether he completes his term. This ruling completely obliterates any remaining illusion that Trump can use legal delays indefinitely to buy time. The judge communicated very clearly, "I've given you enough time. I've heard enough legal arguments. I've granted enough extensions. No more." The extension game is over. From this point forward, if you try to delay this case again, if you try to claim executive privilege or national security again, if you try to find another technicality, you're going to be held in contempt. And contempt means jail, not sometime down the line, not after appeals, now, immediately. The judge can hold you in jail until you comply with the order. That's called coercive custody in legal terms. It's a legitimate tool that federal judges use when someone is willfully and deliberately disobeying a court order. And the fact that Boasberg felt the need to issue this warning in such direct, stark, unambiguous terms tells you he genuinely believes Trump has been deliberately obstructing the proceedings. Not accidentally, not through incompetence. Deliberately, with clear and conscious intent to obstruct. This escalates the jail threat from theoretical and distant to imminent and concrete. We've been talking about hypothetical jail threats for a while, but now a federal judge has made it specific and real and tied to actual deadlines and consequences. It's not some vague warning about what could hypothetically happen. It's a specific, concrete, enforceable order. Release unredacted Epstein documents by Monday. If you don't comply, contempt charges. If you get charged with contempt, jail time. That's the chain of logic. That's the direct path from non-compliance to actual incarceration. And Trump just heard that specific threat from a federal judge in open court while cameras rolled. It spooked him so badly that he left immediately. He didn't stay. He didn't let the judge elaborate. He bolted. That tells you he's taking this threat with extreme seriousness. He's not dismissing it as political theater. He's genuinely frightened about actually going to jail. And that fear is completely justified because the judge isn't bluffing. This is a federal judge making a direct legal threat backed by the authority of the court. If Trump defies this order, he will be held in contempt. And if he's held in contempt, he will go to jail. That's not a maybe. That's the law. This fractures Republican support and creates dangerous political vulnerability. When you've got a sitting president threatened with jail time by federal judges, who lost 6-3 at the Supreme Court on the same day, who's got his own party voting against his military powers, who's got approval ratings at just 35%, that creates enormous political space for removal efforts. Republican senators and representatives start thinking very carefully about protecting themselves. They start calculating the consequences of being too closely associated with a president who might literally go to jail. They start asking themselves hard questions. Is it better to distance myself from Trump now while there's still time, or to go down with him if serious legal consequences materialize? That political calculus is changing right now. That's why you're seeing GOP fracturing accelerate. That's why you're seeing Republican members voting against Trump in Congress on significant issues. That's why you're seeing cabinet people leaking criticisms of him. People are preparing for contingencies, hedging their bets, protecting themselves by creating distance from a president in legal jeopardy. This creates a cascading ripple effect through Trump's entire legal ecosystem. Every single one of his allies is now terrified about their own personal contempt risk. If Judge Boasberg is threatening the president with jail for defying court orders, what about all the people around Trump? His lawyers who are advising him, his staff members, his allies who've been actively helping him obstruct investigations? Everyone in Trump's inner circle is looking at this ruling and thinking, oh my God, I could be next. I could be the one facing contempt charges and jail time if I keep helping Trump with obstruction. And that causes people to flip. That causes people to start cooperating with prosecutors. That causes people to start making immunity deals to protect themselves from jail. That's the cascading effect of judicial threats like this one. It starts at the top with the president being threatened, and then it works its way down through the entire organization as people get scared and start protecting themselves. People get frightened. People flip. People start talking to the government. And Trump knows this dynamic is happening. That's part of why he's in panic mode. He's not just worried about his own jail time. He's worried about people around him starting to cooperate with prosecutors. He's worried about his inner circle making deals. He's worried about the whole thing unraveling from the inside out. So what happens next? Trump is supposed to release unredacted Epstein documents by Monday, according to Boasberg's specific order. That's the deadline. If Trump actually complies, if he releases the documents, then he buys himself some time. He won't face contempt charges this particular week. But the underlying political and legal problems don't disappear just because he releases some documents. He still lost at the Supreme Court. He still has the Pam Bondi blowback. He still has GOP members voting against him. He still has a 35% approval rating. He still has 62% of Americans saying he defies courts too often. And there's still going to be more Supreme Court rulings coming down the pipeline, more federal judge threats. The legal vice is tightening around him visibly. The walls are closing in. Each ruling, each threat, each contempt warning makes the political situation worse. Each one fractures his support more. Each one brings impeachment and removal efforts closer to actual reality. If Trump defies the Boasberg order, if he tries to stall on the document release, if he files more appeals or claims more privilege, then he gets held in contempt. Then he gets arrested. Then he goes to federal jail. Then you have a sitting president of the United States in federal jail. That's completely uncharted constitutional territory. That's something that's never happened in American history before. That's the kind of situation that could trigger a genuine constitutional crisis where nobody knows what happens next. Does the cabinet invoke the 25th Amendment to remove him while he's physically in jail? Do members of Congress invoke impeachment? Does the military get involved? Does law enforcement refuse to jail the president? Nobody knows because it's never happened. That's how unprecedented this is. That's how serious the situation has become. The judge has drawn a line in the sand. Monday is the deadline. Either Trump releases the Epstein documents unredacted, or he faces contempt and potential jail time. The entire country is watching. The entire world is watching. And for the first time in his life, Donald Trump is facing a consequence he can't tweet his way out of, can't lawyer his way out of, can't delay his way out of. A federal judge has told him directly, "You are not above the law." And now we wait to see if he believes it.